I was given this loaf of bread for our communion time today. And before you, you'll see that there is already communion bread laid out in front of all of you. And I thought, oh, okay, well, no big deal. And then I, for some reason, didn't leave it alone at that. I sought the Lord on what this was to mean. And while we were there worshiping, that is when he showed me that you think that price is just your piece. And that your portion of the sin was just that piece. But no, your portion of the sin was the whole thing. Your portion of the sin was the whole body. You see, that whole body was not just broken for the church, it was broken for me. For me, not exclusively, but individually. The whole body was required because of my sin. There was enough depravity and wickedness in my own life that I severely underestimated that required the whole thing. We are lying to ourselves and selling ourselves short if we believe that Jesus died and he paid the price and he had to do it that way because of all of our sin combined. It wasn't. It was mine exclusively. And I know that if it were just me, he still would have been broken. If it were still just me, he would have left the 99 and came to me and says, let's break this bread together. He would have still died. He would have still paid the price because it was my sin that caused such a high payment. It was my sin alone by itself. I have severely underestimated just how much it cost. I've severely underestimated because my life has been full of like that lawyer, self-justification. Because all the stuff that I did, I had reasons for. And all the things that I do, I had reasons for. And after all, by the way, when I stand before God, don't worry, I've got plenty of excuses why I did the things that I did. And I am now beginning to realize that all of those excuses are filthy rags. And that I am coming to conclusions that my sin required the weight of the cross. That my sin required this whole thing, not just a part. I didn't just play a part in this. I caused it. My sin and my sin alone. And for this, I am truly grateful. He sat around a table with his 12 followers. And he took this body and this loaf of bread and he broke it in half. He said, "This is my body. It was broken for you. This do in remembrance of me." I'm going to pass this around. And as you take your part from this, know that it's not just your part, but it's your whole. The good news of this is that how many of you guys know There was another time where Jesus took a loaf of bread and he broke it. He had 5 loaves and he broke it. And what happened? It multiplied. And it was broken. And it multiplied. And it was broken. And it multiplied. The good news in all of this is that there was plenty. That though I incurred the debt, Jesus has the ability and has proven and set precedent by the breaking of bread that he can multiply that bread. That even though he used the whole thing on me, it multiplied, and he can use the whole thing on you. And it multiplied and was broken, and the whole precedent was set. That my sin was weighed and counted and paid in full. And Jesus paid it all. We do this in remembrance. This cup, as he sat around that table, this cup was a covenant. It was a covenant that he was making. He said, this is the blood of the new covenant. I want you to take it in remembrance of me. That covenant was all about a relationship. That covenant was all about having a relationship. You see, the problem with us is that we could not have this relationship that God wanted us to have with him. Because we were too depraved. We were too wicked. We were too wicked and lazy to have this kind of relationship. And so someone who was good enough to have that relationship took on the penalty of those of us who could not have that relationship, thus creating the opportunity for us to have a relationship with the Almighty God. As we take this cup this morning, as you drink this cup, know that inside of you there is a seed of love that has been planted. And if you'll cultivate that, and if you'll pursue the things that it represents, if you'll pursue those things and continue to have this deep, deep relationship with God, and to continue to have a deep relationship with your neighbor, this thing will grow, and love will be prevalent throughout your life. And Jesus said, by this men will know that you are my disciples, that you love one another. We do this in remembrance of him.